Welcome to the premiere episode of StartupESL's Podcast, the place you go for better English, one story at a time. I'm your host, Kareem, and I want to thank you all for listening today. Now, is it me or does every friend group chat have this person? You know who I'm talking about. The person who picks the restaurant, the person who makes the reservations, the person who's always in contact because no one else can make a decision. Today we're talking about that person, the planner. And the story we're going to listen to today is about when being the planner gets complicated. But before we dive into the story, let's talk about friend group roles for a minute. Because today is about the planner, but there are also different people in a friend group. We also have the flake, the person who disappears or cancels last minute. You have the busy one, the one who probably never answers because they're always occupied with something else. The quiet one, who doesn't talk just in general, no matter what you say. And of course, the person who is down for whatever. The one who agrees with every single choice you make. So I want you to ask yourself, which one are you? If I think about myself, I'm probably the guy who's down for whatever and a semi-planner. But honestly, being the planner is the toughest job of all. Because you don't only have to worry about planning everything, you have to make sure everything is correct and that everyone else agrees with it. So today we're going to listen to someone who has been the planner in their group for years. However, this final plan is giving them a lot of trouble. Let's listen.
So, the trip. I should explain how this whole thing started. Priya got the job offer in Singapore back in March. She called me from her apartment, and I could hear in her voice that she was both excited and a little scared. It's a great job, a real step up, but it means moving across the world. She leaves in 2 months. A few days later, the four of us, me, Priya, Marcus, and Jess, were getting dinner, and Marcus said, "We have to do a trip, before she goes, all four of us." Everyone agreed. Everyone got emotional for about 30 seconds, and then everyone looked at me. I'm always the one who plans things. I don't know how it happened. Somewhere around age 24, I became the group's unofficial trip coordinator, and at this point, it would be weird if I didn't volunteer. So I offered to plan the trip. That was a mistake. The group chat became its own job. Marcus replies to messages 8 hours late, always with a thumbs up emoji and nothing else. Jess is swamped with work. She has a complicated schedule and a complicated budget, and she needs to know every detail in advance. And Priya, who the whole trip is for, didn't say much at all for the first 2 days. She just read everyone's messages and stayed quiet. My first idea was Charleston. A long weekend, short flights, cute town, easy. I threw it out there on a Wednesday morning. Jess said the flights from New York were too expensive. Marcus said, "Yeah, Charleston is fine." Which, if you know Marcus, is worse than him saying no. When Marcus says something is fine, it means he'll come, but he won't actually be excited, and the whole trip will have a fine energy. I wanted this trip to be something more than fine, so Charleston was out. I tried again. What about Mexico City? Jess was on the fence. She had to look at her work calendar. Marcus said, "Cool, I'm down." Priya read the message and didn't respond. That's when I started to realize something. I had been trying to pick a destination based on what was easy. Cheap flights, short trips, nothing complicated. But this was for Priya. And Priya hadn't picked anything yet because nobody had asked her what she actually wanted. So I called her. "Priya, forget Charleston, forget Mexico City. If you could go anywhere, for 1 week before you move, where would you want to go?" There was a long pause. I could hear her thinking. "Okay, don't laugh," she said. "Argentina." I didn't laugh, but my brain immediately started doing math. Argentina from New York is not a weekend. It's an 11-hour flight at minimum, probably with a layover somewhere. It's expensive. It would need to be a full week. Marcus has a job he can barely take time off from, and Jess, well, I could already hear Jess's voice in my head, listing reasons. "Argentina," I said. Okay, let me look into it. I hung up, opened my laptop, and started a new tab. This was going to be a project.
It's a funny thing how you do something one time and then that becomes your official job, unofficially. Has that ever happened to you? You've just been voted into something where no one actually voted on it. It's just they expect you to be that person. And would you consider being the planner a gift or a burden? What I would like to do is get into some vocabulary because there are some very useful expressions here. You may have heard the word swamped. It's an adjective, and it's an adjective that means extremely busy, overwhelmed with work or tasks. An example you can use is, I'd love to grab coffee, but I'm swamped this week. How about next Monday? It's a very casual and pretty common expression in English. So if you want to use it at work, that's okay. If you want to use it with friends, that's also okay. And it's important to note that when you use swamped, it's often connected with. Swamped with work, swamped with emails, swamped with tasks. The next expression we heard was throw it out there. I really like this expression because when you say throw it out there, it means to suggest something casually. There's no commitment. You're just putting an idea on the table and you want to see how people react. I'll just throw it out there. What if we ordered pizza instead of cooking? There's no real obligation here to order pizza. It's just an idea. You could use it as what we call a softening phrase. I mean, you're not trying to push this idea or suggestion onto someone. It's a good way to show that there's no real pressure when making this decision. Our next phrase, on the fence, a very good idiom, which means you are undecided between two options. I'm on the fence about taking the new job. The money's better, but the hours are worse. The next key word is actually a phrasal verb, something we all love, and that is look into. If there's one thing you should remember from today's podcast, it's this phrasal verb because it is so common and it means to investigate and research carefully. Did you find out how much the plane tickets cost? No, I'll look into it this weekend. Our final expression is a noun phrase, a step up. When something is a step up, you're saying that it's an improvement and it's a move to something better. This could be a higher position in a job or a better living situation. When you move from a tiny apartment in the city to a big house in the suburbs, some people might say this is a step up. The new apartment is a real step up. We finally have a dishwasher. So what's the improvement in this apartment? The dishwasher. The previous apartment didn't have one. This new one does. So it's an improvement. It's something better. It's a step up. Now be careful. If you use the phrasal verb step up, it means to take responsibility. For example, Jimmy stepped up when we needed him and took control of the project. So Jimmy took responsibility for this project. So nice work, everyone. What did you think? Which keyword from today was your favorite? So now that we've heard a story about planning in a group chat, reviewed some vocabulary, I want to ask you some questions just to recap today's podcast. So sometimes being a planner really is just the role that you fall into. You do it one time and then sometimes people expect you to do it again. Is it the easiest part? No. Could it be the most rewarding part? Possibly. So I'll ask you again, which role are you? The planner, the flake, the down for whatever, the quiet one? We all know my answer. I am the down for whatever / planner. Okay, listeners, I have a big task for you. Now that you heard the podcast, this week, I want you to try using one of our phrases. Throw it out there, on the fence, a step up this week. Hopefully some of you get to use English on a daily basis and you will have the opportunity to use said keywords. And if you can't, look at yourself in the mirror and just say it anyway. And I want to let you know that if you enjoyed this story, this is just one chapter in a series on my website, StartupESL.com. There I uploaded the entire lesson with 3 chapters and a test at the end. Every chapter has vocabulary, additional questions to check your understanding of each chapter, and the full text of the story. There are new stories and lessons uploaded every week. So be sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with stories here at StartupESL's podcast. And remember why you listen. For better English, one story at a time.